Imagine being publicly humiliated and then, 3 days later, discovering that the person who offended you is none other than the key to one of the greatest dreams you've ever had. This is exactly what happened to Evelyn Hart, an arrogant millionaire who, in an act of disdain, expelled a humble elderly man from a plane because he smelled like pigs. On a hot and busy morning at New York International Airport, Evelyn Carter, a millionaire renowned for her successful career in real estate investments, confidently walked through the corridors. Dressed in an impeccable designer suit with an aura of superiority, she was the picture of elegance and power. Evelyn was eager for her private flight to Southern California, where she planned to visit a rural property she was interested in purchasing. The farm, located in the picturesque region of Santa Barbara, promised to be an excellent investment. While waiting for boarding, an unusual incident caught Evelyn's attention. An elderly man, dressed in simple clothes and carrying a strong smell of animals, was attempting to board the same flight. The man, a farmer named George Miller, was returning from a trip to New York where he had handled some business related to his farm. Unaware that the flight was reserved for the elite, he approached the boarding area with modest luggage and a tired demeanor, which strongly contrasted with the sophisticated environment of the airport. Evelyn, noticing the unpleasant smell coming from the man, grimaced and whispered to her assistant, who stood beside her. "Look at that man. How dare he try to board a flight clearly reserved for high-class clients?" The assistant, visibly uncomfortable, just looked away. As boarding began, Evelyn watched with disdain as George unknowingly faced issues with his ticket, which was not valid for the first-class flight. The situation quickly escalated when the boarding staff asked George to leave, stating that his ticket was not suitable for that class. Evelyn, seeing an opportunity to express her contempt, approached him and, with a sharp tone, said, "Sir, perhaps you should reconsider flying first class. The smell coming from you is absolutely unacceptable." George, embarrassed and with his dignity wounded, tried to explain that he was just trying to get home, but security escorted him out of the terminal, leaving him helpless and frustrated. Evelyn walked away, satisfied with the outcome, and boarded her flight with a triumphant smile. As Evelyn's plane took off, she had no idea that this decision would trigger a series of events that would change her life in unexpected ways. 3 days had passed since the incident at the airport. Evelyn Carter was in Santa Barbara in pursuit of the perfect investment. The farm she desired to purchase was a vast and impressive property, known for its agricultural production and the scenic beauty that made it a valuable asset. It was a property that promised not only an excellent financial return, but also a chance to expand her investment portfolio with a key piece in the rural market. As Evelyn explored the farm with her real estate agent, her excitement was palpable. She was eager to finalize the contract and secure the property for herself. The farm seemed to be everything she had hoped for, with vast green fields, well-maintained structures, and a breathtaking view of the Californian landscape. However, during the visit, Evelyn noticed that the current owner, an elderly man clearly involved in the management of the property, was not present. The agent mentioned that the owner was busy with personal commitments and could not attend the meeting. Intrigued and slightly frustrated, Evelyn decided that it was time to meet the owner in person to discuss deeper details about the sale. Later that day, Evelyn headed to the farm's main office, where she found a sign at the entrance with the name George Miller and a photo of the owner alongside a team of workers. With a look of superiority, Evelyn entered and began asking questions to the farm manager. The manager, a middle-aged man with a concerned expression, informed her that George was ill and unable to meet her at the moment. The manager explained that George Miller was battling a terminal illness and, despite his condition, continued to work tirelessly to keep the farm running. This revelation took Evelyn by surprise. She was about to discover something that would change her perception of the man she had humiliated just days earlier. Evelyn decided to postpone her visit and return to the city. During the trip back, she reflected on her conversation with the manager and began to question the true identity of the farmer, who had faced numerous adversities, yet remained dedicated to his land. This new perspective left her feeling unsettled and thoughtful. The growing sense of discomfort and guilt began to weigh on her, and she started to realize that the man she had scorned might be far more than he appeared to be. Curiosity and a sense of responsibility began to take hold of Evelyn, setting the stage for the next phase of her journey. After the discomfort she had felt upon learning about George Miller's situation, Evelyn decided to make a gesture of goodwill. She felt the need to correct her attitude and show some empathy. She decided to return to the farm, not just to discuss the purchase, but to express her respect for his work and dedication. The next morning, Evelyn returned to the farm, this time without the arrogant demeanor she had worn before. She was greeted by the farm manager, who led her to the main house where George was resting. Upon arrival, Evelyn was guided to a small building next to the main house, where George sat in a rocking chair, enjoying a rare moment of peace. George was visibly weakened, with a tired look in his eyes, but there was still a spark of determination and vitality in them. When he saw Evelyn, he lifted his head, trying to hide his discomfort. Evelyn, now with a more respectful and gentle tone, greeted him. "Oh, Mr. Miller, I'd like to apologize for my previous attitude. The truth is, I didn't know about your situation, and I'm sorry for being so insensitive. I truly admire what you've done here." George, surprised by Evelyn's unexpected sincerity, nodded and invited her to sit beside him. The conversation between them started with formalities, but soon became more personal. Evelyn explained that she was interested in the farm and that after learning more about George's struggle, she felt the need to show her respect. Still cautious, George began to share stories about how he had built the farm from the ground up, his challenges and his achievements. He spoke of his love for the land, the hard work, and his desire to leave a legacy for his children and grandchildren. Evelyn listened attentively, starting to understand the true importance of the farm to George and the meaning of his dedication. During their conversation, Evelyn realized that behind George's simple exterior was a man of great wisdom and integrity. This revelation was a turning point for Evelyn, who began to question her own values and the priorities in her life. This encounter changed her perspective and started to plant the seed of an inner transformation. George, in turn, began to see that Evelyn was not just an arrogant millionaire, but someone willing to learn and change. The interaction brought a new dynamic between them, establishing a foundation for a deeper understanding and a potential future collaboration. After the heartfelt encounter at the farm, Evelyn and George began meeting more frequently. Evelyn, who was once focused solely on the investment, now found herself involved in a journey of learning. She became acquainted with the irrigation system, agricultural techniques, and, most importantly, the philosophy George applied in his work. Her attitude was changing, and she made an effort to show a genuine interest in what George was doing. 3 days after the second visit, Evelyn decided to walk around the farm to better understand the magnitude of what she was considering buying. As she strolled through the lush, well-kept fields, she reflected on the potential impact the farm could have on her life and business. George's work impressed her, and the idea of getting involved in the project seemed increasingly significant. While observing the crops, Evelyn noticed a group of workers having an animated discussion near a large barn. Curious, she approached and was warmly greeted. One of the workers, recognizing her, informed her that George was in the office discussing expansion plans and new projects. With her curiosity piqued, Evelyn decided to visit him. When she entered the office, she found George immersed in papers and maps. He looked up and smiled when he saw her. "Hello, Evelyn. What brings you here today?" "I was exploring the farm and thought I'd check on how the preparations are going. It's impressive what you've achieved, George." George smiled warmly in appreciation, but hesitated briefly, as if considering something important. He slowly stood up and gestured for Evelyn to follow him to an adjoining room where several documents and old photographs were carefully organized. "I want to show you something that may change your perspective on this farm and the work we do here," George said with seriousness. As they entered the room, Evelyn was introduced to a collection of historical documents and old photos of the property. George enthusiastically explained the farm's history, from its founding to the innovations his family had implemented over the years. Evelyn absorbed every detail, admiring the rich past of the land. Finally, George took a special framed photograph off a shelf. Inside was a black and white image showing a group of men and women of various ages, with a young George in the center. "This is the photo of the farm's founding. My grandfather and father are here. They built all of this with their own hands." Evelyn studied the image with respect and admiration. George continued, "I wanted you to see this because it's important to understand the value and history behind what we do. Every worker, every piece of this land, has a story and meaning. It's not just about business. It's about life, tradition, and legacy. George's words resonated deeply with Evelyn. For the first time, she realized the farm was not just a profitable investment, but a living symbol of a family tradition that had withstood time. This revelation made her reassess her own values and what she truly wanted to achieve. Perhaps the farm was more than a business. It was an opportunity to become part of something bigger, to honor a legacy, and leave her own mark. The next morning, Evelyn woke up with a sense of restlessness. She had spent the night reflecting on George's revelation and the significance of the farm's legacy. Something within her was changing, and she felt the need to better understand the true impact of George's work. She decided to spend a day with the workers and see the farm from a new perspective. Upon arriving at the fields, Evelyn was warmly welcomed by the workers, who were surprised by her presence but happy to see her genuine interest. One of the workers, who was involved in maintaining the irrigation system, invited Evelyn to join them for the day. As she walked through the fields, Evelyn observed how George interacted with his team. He wasn't just a boss, he was a leader, a mentor, and above all, a friend to those who worked with him. He knew everyone by name, was familiar with their families, and was always ready to offer support, not only at work, but also in their personal lives. During lunch, Evelyn joined the workers for a simple yet warm meal. The stories shared around the table revealed the deep connection between George and his team. Each one spoke about how the farm had changed their lives, not just economically, but by offering a sense of community and purpose. After lunch, Evelyn returned to George's office, where he was reviewing documents for new projects. She sat down with him and, in a serious tone, said, "George, I spent the morning with your workers and learned so much about the impact you and your farm have had on their lives. It's not just about production and profits, it's about the community and the legacy you're building." George smiled, the smile of someone who had just seen their work truly recognized. "I'm glad you saw that. This farm represents so much more than any monetary value. It's about how we can contribute to the lives of those around us." Evelyn nodded, feeling a new respect and admiration for George. She realized that the farm wasn't just a business opportunity, but a testament to how dedication and hard work could positively impact the lives of many people. The time she spent with the workers had opened her eyes to the true essence of what was at stake. With this new understanding, Evelyn felt more determined than ever to continue George's legacy in a respectful and authentic way. The farm had transformed into something far more meaningful than she had originally imagined. The decision was made. Evelyn had spent the day reflecting on the importance of the farm and the profound impact George had on everyone around him. With a renewed sense of purpose, she decided to do something she had never imagined, abandon her original plan to buy the farm for herself, and instead invest in a project that would benefit the community George had built. The next morning, Evelyn went to the farm to meet with George. He was in the fields, overseeing the workers with the same care and dedication as always. She found him near the same old tree where they had first discussed the sale of the farm. Her heart raced as she approached him. "George," Evelyn began, her voice filled with emotion, "I have spent the night thinking deeply about everything I've learned. This farm isn't just a property, it's a symbol of the impact one person can have on the lives of others. The work you've done here is incredible, and I want that to continue." George looked at her, surprised. "What do you mean by that?" Evelyn took a deep breath and continued, "I've decided not to buy the farm. Instead, I want to use my investment to support and expand the community project you started here. I'm going to fund an agricultural training center to teach new techniques and help more people benefit from what you've created." George was in shock, his face expressing a mix of disbelief and gratitude. "Evelyn, this is more than I could have ever imagined. You've not only recognized the value of the work we do, but are committed to ensuring it continues and grows." "Yes," Evelyn confirmed with a sincere smile. "I've realized that true wealth lies in helping others and building something with a lasting impact. I want the farm and what it represents to continue thriving and making a real difference." George smiled, a genuine and satisfied smile, and extended his hand to Evelyn. "Thank you, Evelyn. Your decision not only helps keep the legacy alive, but also shows a significant change in how you see the world." The two shook hands, marking the beginning of a new partnership. Evelyn committed to working with George's team to ensure the training center was built and that the positive impact of the farm would continue to expand. In the months that followed, the farm became a center for agricultural innovation and learning, attracting attention from across the country. The local community benefited greatly from the new opportunities and the continued support they received. George continued his work on the farm, now with a renewed sense of fulfillment, knowing that his legacy was in good hands. As for Evelyn, she became a regular visitor to the farm, not as a distant investor, but as a friend and partner dedicated to the success of the community. She had learned a valuable lesson about humility and generosity, and was determined to use her influence to foster positive change. The bond between Evelyn and George grew stronger over time, and the farm continued to thrive, not just as a place of work, but as a symbol of how collaboration and mutual understanding can transform lives. Their story became an inspiring example of how, through humility and commitment, it is possible to create a better future for everyone. If you were as fascinated by this story as we were, don't miss the chance to follow more exciting and impactful tales like this one. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Your participation is essential for us to bring even more incredible stories to you. See you next time.